I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get blindsided like this. I thought I knew my wife, Jessica, inside and out. We'd been together for 7 years, married for 5. Honestly, I thought we were solid, or at least I did until about 2 months ago when everything started to feel off. She'd been more distant, snapping at me over small things, disappearing for hours without explanation. I brushed it off at first, telling myself she was stressed at work or just going through a rough patch. We had our issues, sure, but nothing that seemed like a big deal. I believed in us. Then a few weeks ago, I started noticing little changes in her behavior. Her phone was constantly on silent, and she'd hide it when I walked into the room. She'd get defensive if I asked about her plans or who she was talking to. I'd catch her in lies, little ones at first, about where she was the night before, who she was with. But I dismissed it as paranoia or maybe insecurity on my part. I trusted her, or so I thought, but then came the night I found the proof I couldn't ignore. It was a Thursday and I was supposed to be working late. Jessica had said she was meeting with some friends from her book club. I believed her because she'd been insisting I spend less time at my job, claiming I worked too much and didn't pay enough attention to her. So I went to bed that night, thinking she was just out having a girls' night. That's when I saw the message. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, and I, out of habit, reached over to turn it off before I fell asleep. I saw the screen light up. A message from someone named Matt, her supposed friend from book club, saying, "Can't wait to see you tonight, babe, miss you already." My stomach sank, I froze. My hand hovered over her phone, trying to process what I had just seen. I didn't know what to feel at first, shock mostly. Then a deep, gnawing anger. My wife, Jessica, lying there in the bed, pretending to be asleep, her breathing slow and even, while I stared at her phone with this sick feeling in my gut. The thing is, I had a gut feeling for a while, but I was just ignoring it. I didn't want to believe she would cheat on me. I mean, how could she? We built a life together. She was supposed to be my partner, my best friend, my everything. And now I was sitting there wondering if I ever really knew her at all. I didn't say anything that night. I just laid there, staring at the ceiling, feeling like I was waking up in a nightmare. The next day, I couldn't keep it inside. I decided I needed to confront her. I knew I'd get some excuse, some bullshit story to explain away the message. But I needed to hear it from her. I just didn't realize the mess I was about to get into, or how much worse it was going to get before it got better. The morning after I found the message, I couldn't focus on anything else. I kept replaying that moment over and over in my head. The way her face looked when I first saw the message, like she was trying to pretend she hadn't been caught. I knew I couldn't hold it in forever, so I decided I'd confront her. That night, I needed to hear her lie or maybe admit everything outright. Either way, I was done pretending I didn't know. Jessica was in the kitchen when I got up. She looked normal, too normal, smiling that overly charming way she always did when she thought she was getting away with something. I remember she was pouring herself a coffee, humming some stupid tune, and I just stood there watching her. My fists clenched, heart pounding. I'd never been the type to lose control, but knowing what I knew now made me furious. I sat her down at the dining table after breakfast, trying to keep my voice steady but cold. I just blurted out, "Who is Matt? Who are you texting all night? Tell me the truth." Jessica's eyes widened for a second, that perfect, bitchy smirk she always had when she was about to spin some bullshit. She looked at me like I was bothering her, like I was the crazy one. "Oh, so now you're spying on me?" She snapped, crossing her arms. "You're really gonna accuse me of cheating because I texted a friend? Grow up, Daniel. You're acting like a jealous teenager." That's when I lost it. I told her I saw the message, that I knew she was messing around with someone named Matt. I expected her to break down, to try and deny it, but instead she just rolled her eyes and dismissed me. "Honestly, you're so paranoid," she said, casually brushing her hair behind her ear. "You're overreacting. That's just a stupid joke. You're reading too much into it, as usual." Her tone was dismissive, arrogant even. I could see the sneer on her face, like she thought she was smarter than me. That's when I realized she'd been lying from the start, all those little lies piling up. She'd been hiding something for months, maybe longer. I told her I wasn't buying it, that I wasn't going to be played for a fool. She scoffed, rolled her eyes again, and threw a lazy, "Whatever, Daniel." Like I was just some inconvenience. That's when I knew this wasn't a misunderstanding, this was betrayal. How could she be so callous? How could she lie so easily about something so obvious? I felt like my heart was breaking. I never thought I'd end up like this, questioning everything. That day I started to see her differently. She'd always been bitchy, sure, but this was something else. The way she dismissed my feelings, the way she lied so effortlessly, it was like I was invisible to her. I felt disgusted but also crushed. I had given her everything, and here she was, cheating on me with some guy I used to consider my little brother's best friend. How did I miss all the signs? How did I not see that she was capable of this? I wanted to believe it was a mistake, that she'd come clean and everything would go back to normal. But deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I couldn't trust her anymore. Every little thing she did from then on felt like a lie. I was stuck with this sick feeling that I wasn't enough, that she needed someone else, someone who was supposed to be just my friend. That betrayal, that utter disregard for my feelings, changed everything for me. I started planning how I was going to confront her again, but this time, with the full story. After that confrontation, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. My mind kept racing, trying to make sense of everything. I couldn't believe I had let it get this far. How stupid I was to trust her so blindly. Jessica, with her bitchy attitude and constant lies, had always been a bit of a nightmare, but I never thought she'd betray me like this. Not during our supposed happy years, not after all the plans we'd made, and definitely not with my so-called little brother, of all people. That revelation cut deeper than anything else. I started paying closer attention to her every move. She became more defensive, more dismissive. She'd lash out at me for the smallest things, like I was the one in the wrong, not her. She'd say I was paranoid, jealous, insecure. But I could see it in her eyes, she was hiding something. Her silence when I questioned her about Matt was deafening. She'd brush past it, change the subject, or give some half-assed excuse about needing space or time to think. One night I decided I'd had enough of her bullshit. I needed answers, and I needed to hear her admit the truth, even if it hurt. Like hell, I waited until she came home late from some work event and I was sitting on the couch pretending to watch TV. She slipped in quietly, trying to act casual. I called her out right away, my voice colder than I thought I could be. "Jessica, I know you're lying. I know you're still texting Matt. Just tell me the truth." Her face twisted into this nasty sneer. She looked at me like I was the one who was crazy, like I was the problem. "God, you're so possessive," she spat. "You're turning into some obsessive freak. It's just a stupid message. You're making it into this huge deal. Maybe I need some space from your accusing ass." That's when I snapped. I told her I didn't want to hear her bullshit anymore, that her lies were over. I was sick of her dismissing my feelings, sick of her pretending she was innocent. I told her I knew about Matt, about the sex, about everything. Her eyes flashed with anger, and she went on the attack, calling me insecure, accusing me of spying on her, saying I was just jealous because I was. Enough for her anymore. But I wasn't just angry anymore, I was hurt. I knew then she wasn't going to change. Whatever part of her still cared about us, about me, had died long ago. I saw the truth in her eyes. She had been cheating on me for months, maybe longer. That she'd been lying to my face every day, pretending everything was fine. And as much as I wanted to believe it was all a mistake, I knew deep down it was. It was just her way of screwing me over, of having her cake and eating it too. I felt like I was losing my mind. How could she do this? How could she be so bitchy, so manipulative, so full of shit? I had always thought she was smart, beautiful, confident. Turns out she was just a master at hiding her real self. That realization hit me hard because I had spent all these years thinking I knew her, thinking she was my wife, my partner. Now I was just a fool who missed the signs. That night, I sat alone in our apartment, feeling emptier than I ever had before. The betrayal weighed so heavily I could barely breathe. I cried, I yelled, I felt anger boiling inside. I wanted to go back and undo everything, but I knew that wasn't possible. I was left with nothing but questions and a broken heart. The only thing clear was that I had to make a choice, stay and try to fix this, or walk away from the woman who'd shattered everything I believed in. The next steps weren't going to be easy, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with it. The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and mostly I couldn't stop thinking about how I'd been so blind for so long. I kept replaying everything, moments I missed, signs I ignored, times she snapped at me for no reason, all the little lies she told so casually. It felt like I'd been living with a stranger all this time. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, had been cheating on me with my so-called little brother, Matt, during the worst moment of my life, my mom's funeral. Yeah, it's as bad as it sounds. She was there, acting all sympathetic when my family was grieving, but behind the scenes, she was sneaking around, probably screwing Matt in some hotel room or her car. Who knows? The thought made me physically sick. That day I even found out she'd been texting him at the funeral while I was saying my last goodbyes. That's when I realized she was capable of anything, no matter how low, how disgusting. I didn't tell anyone at first. Honestly, I didn't know who to talk to. I felt humiliated and betrayed, like I was the biggest idiot alive. So I kept it inside, trying to process what I'd uncovered. But the pain kept growing, and I knew I couldn't keep hiding it forever. I needed to face her again, to hear her lie straight to my face, or maybe finally get some kind of answer. One night I confronted her again. We were alone in the living room, and I told her I knew everything: the affair, the sex, the sneaking around. Her response was to shrug and give me that same bitchy smirk she always wore. "You're overreacting, Daniel. You always jump to conclusions. I was just comforting Matt after everything with your mom. You're so paranoid and insecure. Maybe if you weren't such a jealous freak, we wouldn't be in this mess." It was the same bullshit, different day. Her lying was so obvious I almost laughed, but I didn't. Instead, I felt everything inside me boiling over. I wanted to scream, to tear her apart with my words, but I just sat there, staring at her, feeling more numb than anything. I realized she was just trying to manipulate me, turn everything around. She was the one who had been unfaithful, and yet she was the victim. That's when I knew I had to get out. I couldn't keep living this lie. I had to decide whether to fight for my dignity or just walk away and forget all of it. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her I was done. Done with her lies, done with her bullshit, done with pretending I didn't see through her. I told her I was going to leave, that I needed some time to figure out what I really wanted. She scoffed, told me I was overreacting, and called me pathetic. That's typical Jessica, always turning things around on me, making me feel like I was the problem. But I knew better now. I knew she was the problem. As I packed my bags that night, I felt a strange mixture of relief and heartbreak. Part of me wanted to lash out, to destroy everything she stood for, but I knew that wouldn't fix anything. I just wanted to get away from the lies, the betrayal, the pain. I realized I had been so blind to her true nature, and that hurt almost as much as finding out about the affair in the first place. I kept thinking about all the moments I missed, all the times I believed her lies just to keep the peace. That night I left our apartment. I didn't look back. I felt like I had just escaped a prison, and honestly, it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. But deep down, I knew it was necessary. I couldn't keep living in that shadow of betrayal. I had to rebuild myself from whatever pieces I had left. And that's what I planned to do: start over, even if it hurt like hell. I guess what I'm saying is, I've learned that sometimes, the people you trust most can hurt you the deepest, and the only way out is to find your own strength and walk away. Living alone after all this was a different kind of hell. The house felt empty, colder somehow, even with all the memories lingering in every corner. I spent days just sitting there, trying to make sense of what had happened, questioning every moment I'd ever shared with Jessica. Was she ever really mine? Or was I just fooling myself, believing in some fairy tale that was never real? The betrayal cut so deep I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus, and worse, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd lost a part of myself in all of this. Jessica kept trying to reach me, of course. Texts, calls, even a few "please talk to me" messages. But I ignored her. I didn't want to hear her lies anymore, didn't want to hear her bitchy voice trying to justify what she did. I knew she was just trying to manipulate me again, make me doubt myself. But I was done. Done with her, done with her lies, done with pretending everything was okay. Eventually, I decided I had to do something else, something more concrete. I started reaching out to friends, asked for advice, and even considered legal options just in case she tried to spin things against me. I know it sounds dramatic, but I wasn't going to let her ruin me. She had already taken enough. I wanted to rebuild, to get some semblance of control back. I started seeing a therapist too, because I realized I buried a lot of pain and anger that I needed to work through. One thing I learned from this mess is how quick betrayal can change everything. I never thought I'd be that guy, someone who got cheated on, someone who felt so broken and angry. But I also learned that it's possible to come out the other side. Not easily, not without scars, but stronger. I realized I'd spent so much time trying to be the perfect husband, the perfect guy, that I forgot to prioritize myself. Jessica's betrayal was a wake-up call. I had to stop looking for validation in her and start rebuilding my own life. The hardest part was forgiving myself. Forgiving myself for not seeing the signs, for staying so long, for trusting her when I should have known better. But I also knew I couldn't keep living in that guilt. I had to accept that sometimes people are just who they are and you can't change that. The only thing you can do is decide how you move forward. I chose to walk away, to focus on myself and to learn from this nightmare. Now I'm in a different place. I still get angry sometimes, still think about everything I lost, but I also feel a small spark of hope. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that I can survive this. Betrayal hurts like hell, but it also teaches you who you really are. I've become more cautious, yes, but also more aware. More determined to find happiness again without pretending to be okay. To anyone out there going through something similar, I'll say this: don't ignore the signs, trust your gut. And if you find yourself betrayed, remember that you're not alone. It hurts, it really does, but it's not the end. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to start climbing back up. That's what I'm doing now, climbing. And I know eventually I'll be better for it. Looking back, I realize how much this whole experience has changed me. For a long time, I was just angry, hurt, and lost. I questioned everything: my judgment, my worth, my ability to trust anyone again. But slowly I started to rebuild. With time, I learned to forgive myself for staying as long as I did, for believing in her when her actions told me otherwise. Forgiveness didn't come easy, but it was necessary. I had to accept that sometimes people reveal their true selves in the worst ways, and the only way to survive is to let go and move forward. That's what I did. I pulled myself out of that dark place piece by piece. I focused on my career, my friends, my passions. I started doing things I'd always wanted to do: traveling, picking up old hobbies, reconnecting with myself. The pain still lingers sometimes, but it's less sharp now. What's left is just a faint scar, a reminder that I survived something I thought would break me. The most valuable lesson I learned is that loyalty, honesty, and respect are everything in a relationship. Without those, it's just a matter of time before everything falls apart. Jessica's betrayal showed me how fragile trust can be, but it also taught me how resilient I am. I've come to understand that sometimes walking away is the best thing you can do for yourself. Staying would have meant sacrificing my peace, my dignity, and my happiness. I don't hold any hatred towards her anymore. Honestly, I feel sorry for her. She's the one who threw away a good life, a good man, all for cheap thrills and lies. And I hope she finds whatever it is she's looking for, though I doubt it's happiness. As for me, I'm finally learning to live again. Not as the guy who was blinded by love or too trusting for his own good, but as someone who's stronger now, who's learned to spot the warning signs and protect himself. If there's one thing I'd want to tell anyone reading this, it's that you're more capable than you think. You can survive betrayal. More than survive, you can grow from it. It's okay to grieve, to be angry, to feel like everything's falling apart. But don't let it define you. Use it as fuel to rebuild. Trust is precious, and once broken, it's almost impossible to mend. But your life isn't over just because someone else messed theirs up. You have the power to start fresh, to find happiness again. And I promise you will. My story isn't unique, but it's mine. And I hope somehow sharing it helps someone else find their way out of the darkness. Because in the end, no matter how bad things seem, there's always a chance to pick yourself up and create a new chapter. It won't be easy and it won't happen overnight, but it's worth it. I know now that I am.